Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another boxing of the offline product game review. This is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon Chronicles for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here comes with 2 games on one disc. What those games are is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 and Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, all on one disc. Now each game is treated as its own separate piece, so you can pick and choose which one you would like to install, which is nice in case you're only working with limited hard drive space. And as well, continuation in this video, I will refer to these games as Bloodstained 1 and Bloodstained 2. Keep things simple. As well as you've probably already noticed, this is a Japan import physical copy. This game does support English menus and English subtitles. There is no voice acting in the game, so don't worry about that. As I said, it does come with the 2 games. Each game is treated separately and has its own version number. Bloodstained 1 has the update version 1.01 on disc, and thankfully at the time I making this video, there were no updates available, and I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now Bloodstained 2 had the update version 1.30 on disc, and as well, gratefully, it had no updates available since the time of this video, and as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. So this is the most complete version of both Bloodstained 1 and 2 Curse of the Moon on disc, which is extremely nice. Now, if you're not aware, there is another print run of both these games of Curse of the Moon from Limited Run Games, and those versions are identical to what Curse of the Moon Chronicles has on disc. So there's no real big difference between that. The only difference you're going to be getting between buying the Chronicles version or the Limited Run version is that the Chronicles version has both of those games on one disc, while Limited Run has 2 separate discs. So if you're working with limited shelf space, or if you're let's say the Limit Run versions are getting expensive and this Chronicle version is cheaper and you can get both games on one disc, it might be better in future-wise in terms of budget-wise just to look for the Chronicle one. But who knows, these things could be vary in terms of what gets expensive, what not. So just don't worry, both of them are identical on what's on version from the Limit Run version and this Chronicle version. I only like this Chronicle version more than Limit Run version just because it all comes on one box and on one disc. Saves me room on my shelf. Now, I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues. The game ran beginning to perfect to end. I beat every episode on veteran difficulty. There are some hidden episodes that require special main actions to unlock. Most of it just involves playing as Zengestuo. I may be getting his name wrong. Zengestuo. Something like that. Basically, it just involves just using him to beat the levels instead of using your partner characters. The only bug I came across in the game was in the second one, and that's where I had some audio bug with your attack animation sound effect. It didn't do any sound effect. You just swung your blade or shot your gun or attack. It didn't do any sound. I know it's a bug because sometimes it would do the audio and sometimes it wouldn't. Especially like if I transitioned to the next scene, it would work for a little bit and then stop working. That's the only bug I experienced throughout the entire game. Now, if you're not aware, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is a prequel to the other game, the main series, which was Ritual of the Night. Hopefully I'm getting that name right. It's Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. And I really enjoyed this game more probably than the Ritual of the Night, just because I love the graphical style. I love the simplistic look of NES graphics and the simple shading of colors. Extremely nice to look at and very pretty. I love the soundtrack in the game, and the story is, it's there. It's nothing major, but it was enjoyable. The only thing that was really frustrating is that while the first one, it was relatively approachable and it was enjoyable, and you could play it on higher difficulties to give yourself more of a challenge, or as I said, play as Zengestuo, maybe getting his name wrong, I'm sorry, but that will make the game harder. The second one is a significantly noticeable difficult increase in the game, to the point where it started to just become more frustrating than actually felt like more difficult. It felt cheap. It felt, at certain moments, a little just unfair at certain moments. It just depends on what you're looking for. The first one is a little bit more approachable, while the second one is more as a callback to the old SNES or Super Nintendo or NES days, where games were extremely difficult and extremely punishing in terms of like fall to your death and stuff, or checkpoints being super far away. It just got a lot of that stuff. And I did have a little bit of an issue with a particular level in the second one. I will call it the mummy level, and it's basically fight a giant boss mummy. But that level had a ton of fall to your death. It was very frustrating, and even that boss was so big it even covered up some of your menu screens on your screen, like covered up your health or your character who you are currently as. That annoyed me a little bit. There were a few other bosses with this issue, but it wasn't as apparent as the mummy was. It was very frustrating having an enemy that was not only frustrating to fight because it felt a little RNG, but also covered up your health so you had no idea what your health was. I don't know if I was a big fan of that. But overall, they were still fun, they were still enjoyable, and they were still an enjoyable experience for what they were trying to provide of that old NES or Super Nintendo experience, if that's what you're looking for. Still good collection, still worth to get into your shelf. I did mess around with the multiplayer a little bit in the second one with my brother. Didn't play it with very long. It functions, it works, and everything like that. I didn't have any issues. I just didn't like how you... if one of the multiplayer people, your multiplayer partner dies, he can't select another character. He's just dead. He has to wait till he can play, I guess, until you beat the level or you lose, the next character dies. I don't know how I feel about that. I wish that when one person dies, they switch over to the next character automatically. It could have been a little bit more involvement for the two-player aspect of the game. But in the end, I do enjoy the game. It's well worth to get into your shelf, especially this Japan version. If you want to pick up the limit run versions, there's no difference between the version numbers on disc and on your shelf. It's just more of what you're available to get as affordable and it's not going to break your bank, or how you feel about what you want on your shelf in terms of the first, the Chronicles one only takes up one game shelf, while the limit run version, if you're going to want that, you're going to take up 2 game shelves for each game. It all depends on what you're looking for. So in the end, I will try to provide links in the description. It will provide links to the Chronicles version of the game. I said it was enjoyable. I love these retro games. I love the graphics. I love the music. I love the gameplay. It just had certain irritating moments in the second one for me. Now, I really enjoyed the last episode a lot in the second one. The last one when you had this, I won't spoil it, there's a special little game up, change up moment in the game. And I love the backtracking, running through levels to get more upgrades and stuff like that in the last final episode. That was my most favorite episode out of all of them from first and second one. But it's frustrating that you have to go through in the second one so many episodes before you get to the final episode, which was my favorite. And I can see where I recently covered a game called Gao Guardians or Grim Guardians, and I can see where they took some pretty heavily inspiration from Curse of the Moon 2 in terms of the design aspects. So, I mean, it was just interesting to see that. I didn't realize that when I first played it the first time of the Gao Guardians. So, in the end, thank you all so much for watching. As I said, I'll provide links on the description. Check it out. It's good, enjoyable. Good gameplay, worked functional, it was enjoyable for what it was. So like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video.